Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our oddly dated June 29th board meeting. As people,
Well, it's still June.
it is, yes. We're just in the nick of time. I will turn it over to Diana, who will take the steps to just open up our meetings formally.
Okay. I note that Morris Peters and Christopher Curtis, representing the Director of the Division of the Budget and the Commissioner of Taxation and Finance, are participating in the meeting via video conference from the New York State Division of Budget Conference Center at the Capitol Building Room 131 in Albany, and that Beth Gonzalez is participating from the Syracuse Regional Office, 620 Erie Boulevard, Suite 312. Notice of these locations has been made public, and the public has the right to attend and observe the proceedings from either location. I'll go on to open up the HFA, AHC, and HTFC meetings.
Thank you.
I ask for a motion to open the HFA, HTFC, and AHC meetings.
So moved.
Second. I will now ask for individual votes from each HFA, HTFC, AHC board member. Commissioner Visnakis?
Here, aye. Here.
Mr. Peters?
Here. Aye.
Mr. Curtis?
Present. Aye.
Ms. McCune?
Aye.
Ms. Miller?
Aye.
Mr. McIntyre?
Aye.
And Ms. Gonzalez?
Aye.
I ask for a motion for the AHC Audit Committee.
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Okay. I now ask for individual votes from each of the AHC Audit Committee members. Commissioner Visnakis?
Motion. Oh, vote aye. Motion. Where are we?
Present,
That wasn't
present.
following. Present.
Here. Mr. Peters?
Aye.
Mr. Curtis?
Aye.
I ask for a motion for the HTFC Audit Committee.
Who's that? Is it?
It's the gentleman on the screen.
Same group.
Same
So
group.
moved.
Do I have a second?
I'm not on there. I don't thought I was on. Oh.
These are good. I now, no, it's just these two.
I think it's just that.
Oh,
I
really?
now ask for individual votes from each HTFC Audit Committee member. Mr. Peters?
Aye.
Mr. Curtis?
Aye.
Okay, I ask for a motion for the HTFC Governance Committee.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I now ask for individual votes from each HTFC Governance Committee member. Mr. Peters?
Aye.
Mr. Curtis?
Aye.
Great, we're all set.
Great. I was just going to do a little opening remarks. As folks know, we proposed a really aggressive and innovative plan, the Governor's Housing Compact, which was not successful in the budget season or in the legislative session. I think we were hopeful that some pieces of it would have gotten passed in the legislative session, but that didn't happen. But I think we feel very happy, to overuse that word, that the conversation about sort of solving the housing crisis and some of the tools and sort of our framework for getting there have been elevated into a level of conversation that isn't really going to go away. It hasn't gone away so far, and hopefully won't go away. And we have obviously another budget session and another legislative session to go through. And I think the experience has really strengthened our resolve to keep coming back and try and propose things that we can get through the legislature that will actually make a difference and ultimately seek to increase the housing stock in the state of New York. So I would say sort of generally kind of stay tuned on that. We feel the governor has given us sort of marching orders, sort of a day after it was clear that we weren't going forward to go back to the drawing table and start looking at things and figuring out what she can do within her own powers and also what is appropriate for us to be looking at for next year. So I think you'll continue to hear from us on overall legislative and sort of housing policy and supply strategy issues. I would note just one thing from the legislative session, which is that our bonding authority for HFA was extended. So we always need our bonding authority to be extended so we can keep coming here every month and approving deals. So sometimes it happens smoothly. Sometimes it can be a little bit of a nail biter, but this year it went fairly smoothly. So with that, we will maybe take a start with the AHC Audit Committee agenda. The first item is The minutes of the audit committee meeting of AHC held on May 16th, 2023 shall be deemed approved, absent corrections from members and directors. We will now move to the audit committee's action items,
Okay.
right? Is that right? We just keep going?
Yeah.
Okay, item number 2. This is me playing Ken today, so forgive me for my noviceness. Item 2, resolution recommending the approval of AHC fiscal 2023 financial statements. I note that the financial statements of AHC were sent to the board and committee by separate cover and can be found on our website and the members' computers. So Daryl is here to discuss the AHC financials.
Good morning, Commissioner. Good morning, board members. Today I'm presenting the AHC annual audited financial statements. Presenting for
There's no mic there. Why don't you put this up?
Oh, it's,
No, that's just the,
that's the
mouse.
computer.
presenting for our controller. She is off in Paris having a good time, so I'm doing the honors today. That being said, these financial statements are being audited by Ernst & Young, our audit team, and they're substantially complete. And Ernst & Young's managing director, Danielle Herbert, will speak about the audit and the remaining steps to completion. Just as a general introduction, AHC, the corporation, administers the Affordable Home Ownership Development Program, provides grant funding for new construction, acquisition, rehabilitation, and home improvements of owner-occupied housing. Typically, these grants are up to $40,000 and generally do not require any kind of repayment unless certain conditions are not met. The primary source of AHC's funding are state appropriations. In fiscal 2023, we received $36 million in appropriations, and there were 33.7 that were awarded in fiscal 2023. Of the 33 that was awarded, 23.1 was actually spent and allocated to grantees. The AHC, the other big expense line item is the AHC administrative expenses, which primarily consist of salaries. That was $3.2 million. AHC is a subsidiary of HFA. HFA generally pays or subsidizes all of AHC's administrative expenses because AHC does not receive an administrative allocation from the appropriation. As I mentioned, these financial statements are substantially complete. There is one item that we're going to change. It's actually just a reclassification. There's a program called the Buffalo East Home Improvement Program, or BHIP, in which AHC did receive some money, and that's to provide grant awards to certain areas in Buffalo based on actual owner-occupied home repairs, including any issues relating to health and safety. That has not been broken out in the financial statement that you see, so it's just a categorization. We have to break that out, and then we'll provide some context within the financial statement no disclosures. So that's really all I have. Are there any questions on AHC? If not, I'll let Danielle speak to give us some context on the audit process and when we plan to have it completed. Danielle, are you on the line?
Yes, I'm here. Daryl, you hear me?
Yes.
Excellent. Good morning, all. Yes, as Daryl said, we are well into our audit process on the AHC financial statements for the fiscal year 2023 statements. And yes, as he said as well, we are substantially complete with our audit procedures at this time. So just finishing up some of our audit work, working things through certain levels of review that all of our items need to go through. But really, I think expect to finish our audit and issue the financial statement opinion in the next couple of weeks. I currently am not expecting any changes to the financial statements except for what Daryl just noted as a reclass item that we are expecting to make. But other than that, expecting our the final financial statements to be consistent with what was sent to the committee in your materials this week. And otherwise, I would just say to date, we don't have any audit findings, no material weaknesses that have been noted, no audit adjustments or audit differences, as we might call them. And so currently expect to issue what we call unmodified or clean opinions on the financial statements for fiscal 2023.
Super. Thank you, Danielle. Go ahead.
Danielle, can I ask a question?
Sure.
We're required to file the financial statements by, I think, in the next couple of days under the Paris system. Are these financials that we're approving today, can they be filed before June 30th, or do we have to wait until the final version?
I can answer that. I believe we do have to wait till the final version. It has to have the opinion within the financial statements.
And we need that by Friday?
Well, I don't think we'll get it by Friday to Paris. Because, like Linda mentioned, there needs to be some work on their end and just cleaning up a few items, and then they have to go through the internal review process.
Okay.
Okay.
Is
should we
there a
move-
penalty for missing that deadline?
No, we missed the deadline in January for our other agencies, so this will just be a second time we've done this. Hopefully it won't happen again.
Thank you.
And good morning, V. Sorry.
My turn?
I think so, right?
Now before the AHC Audit Committee is a resolution that was transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the first and second previously recorded, all voting in favor, please say aye.
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 The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
All right, there is no unfinished business. We will ask for motions and seconds to adjourn the AHC Audit Committee meeting.
Assuming the first and second previously entered, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried. The AHC Audit Committee meeting is adjourned.
Okay, now we're going to move to our regular full HFA AHC, thank you, Daryl, agenda. Item number 1 is the minutes of the HFA and AHC meetings held on May 16th, 2023. Shall be deemed approved absent corrections from members and directors. The next 4 items are all AHC items related to the approval of the yearly financial statements and the filing with Paris. The financial statements were reviewed in detail at the audit committee meetings earlier today. These are all consent items with no discussion unless board members so request. We will take them up all as one vote after I list them. Item number 2 is approval of AHC's financial statements for the fiscal year ending 3/31/2023. Item number 3 is approval of AHC's annual investment report for the fiscal year ending 3/31/2023. Item number 4 is approval of AHC's annual Paris filing for the fiscal year ended 3/31/23. And lastly, item number 5 is approval of AHC's annual procurement report and Paris filing thereof for the fiscal year ending 3/31/2023.
Now before AHC members are resolutions that were transmitted in connection with these 4 items. Assuming the first and second previously entered for AHC, all in favor, please say aye.
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 The motions are carried and the resolutions adopted.
Okay, now we're going to move to some consent items. Item number 6 is a resolution approving renewal of the HFA cybersecurity policy. The materials in connection with this item were sent under separate cover and are found on the agency's website and on members' computers. Any questions on cybersecurity?
Actually, I had a question. Reading the paragraph that explains the use of contractors for personal services, but why is cybersecurity deemed a personal service and not OTPS?
Is that Lisa?
Yeah, Lisa's here. You want to come up? Lisa?
Yeah, no, I'm not sure that I know the answer to the question.
I was just curious about it.
About why we charge it to
PS
personal
and not
service?
OTPS.
What is OTPS?
Other than
Other than
personal
personal
service.
How long have you worked for the state?
Oh my God, there are some things that I try to avoid. TPS or something.
And that's cited in here?
That's, which page is it on?
This is in the memo that accompanies the item.
Yeah.
What a great board. They read everything. That's great.
I mean, to my knowledge, it's charged to the E.G. Bowman contract.
Yeah.
And
That's the contract, but
Is that a PS contract?
Yeah.
Lisa, I think the question is that the justification on page 1 says criteria for use of contractors for personal services. It may be an error.
on page 1 of the memo.
Page 1,
Hard boiled.
But do you see where it is? It's in accordance.
in accordance, I was trying to actually. Mender.
Your criteria for use of contractors.
So we consider the personal services, the E.G. Bowman as a broker. And so those services we're considering personal services. Now,
okay.
there are premiums that we move to E.G. Bowman, and they then in turn pay the insurance company, but we're considering the E.G. Bowman contract a personal services contract.
It's interesting, because I thought personal services just salaries and fringe benefits.
No,
It's broader now?
Most of our contracts, procurement contracts, are personal services contracts. The OTPS would be buying equipment for, Dell
Right.
computers or tokens or,
Okay, so yeah. Thank you.
subscriptions.
You have just answered a question that I have had for many years.
Excellent.
Well, there we go.
Excellent.
Okay.
I do want to make a note that the premium that was sent to,
Yeah, but the book has the current premium.
oh, okay,
Yeah.
great.
One question, is there so it's 5 million and then it's a premium of 402. I mean, it's a lot of money that runs through this agency. Like, is 5 million significant? And two, are there policies and procedures that can change and impact the premium outcome as an agency to lower that, or at least make sure that, having been here when incidents have happened, just thinking through, is there things that we do as an agency to sort of, that we're given as advisories to make sure that premium is what it is or goes lower, but also just thinking about the size of that, considering the balance sheet of the agency?
Yeah, I don't know, Betsy, is that something that you would?
Yeah, I'm happy to start. Can you ask, James, can you just ask the second part of your question again, please? So the first part of your question is it worth, I think the first part of your question is it worth having this policy, or should we sort of self-insure?
No.
Is $5 million enough,
It's
and are there things
sufficient.
we should do to take the premium?
it's 5
Are there
million,
things we
okay.
could do to take the premium
Is
down?
5 million sufficient? And two, are there policies and had this E.G. Bowman, for example, identified or Zurich policies and procedures that address making sure that our premium doesn't skyrocket, or that we're taking appropriate steps, or that ways to even think about bringing it down?
Can I try to answer this question?
Yeah.
So
Sure.
we've always had a difficult time assessing what is the value that should be placed,
Yeah.
And so I think we went to our broker and they suggested $5 million. As far as the Zurich premium, we went to E.G. Bowman and they submitted quotes. And we selected Zurich again as the one that there was another vendor, another insurance company that came in a little bit less, but their deductible was much higher and we were getting less than bang for our money.
Yeah, and okay.
I think the first
James,
time we went out, which was 2 years ago, they solicited more than 30 insurance companies, and we only received 2 quotes back.
Interesting.
I would just add two things to that. Thank you, Lisa. One is just so that the board knows, as we went out to do this bid again this year, we also re-engaged Venable, who had helped us last time, to provide some advice around the policy. And the second is, as Lisa said, only 2 came back. Evidently, increasingly, actually, insurance companies are not doing cyber insurance, and so it may get increasingly more difficult to get these policies.
More expensive. Less competition.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
What's that? I'm sorry, I can't hear.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just said, less competition, it'll be more expensive because we don't have alternatives. I think it's happening in insurance in a lot of markets everywhere. Yeah. Okay.
Any other questions? Great. Okay. Thank you, Lisa.
Now before HFA and AHC members is a resolution that was transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the first and second previously entered for HFA and AHC, all in favor, please say aye.
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 The motions are carried and the resolution adopted.
Great. Item number 7 is a resolution approving HFA amendment of the NWVE goal setting software contract with AHC Systems.
So we're asking authorization to extend the contract and to extend the amount not to exceed under the contract. We originally solicited small businesses, MWBs and SDVOBs. We limited solicitation to those three entities. At the time, we capped it at $200,000 because that was the statutory limit. In January, we amended our guidelines to mirror the statutory limit of $500,000. So now we're asking an increase in the amount up to $500,000 and an extension of the contract for 2 years.
Great. Any questions?
I just have a quick question. It's effective software? Because this can't, I guess it's hard to track. I'm just curious because I'm thinking of tracking. You know, we don't do this internally, and I'm just wondering if it's good software.
You know, I'm not monitoring that. It's Carrie Torres who's monitoring that, but I understand they're satisfied with the services we've had them in the past. And
okay, I'll follow up.
Okay.
Thank you.
Super, thanks.
I'll do it. Yep. Now before HFA members is a resolution that was transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the first and second previously entered for HFA, all in favor, please say aye.
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 The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Great. Item 8 is an authorization to extend the term of contracts with firms on the agency's pre-qualified panel for the provision of professional temporary staffing consultant services. Do you want to give a quick?
So we're asking authorization to extend the term. These are temps that are used to staff gaps in the agency.
Their salaries comparable to the salaries that are paid to staff?
Generally, they seem to be more. However, what we required when we're not paying necessarily the temp more. There's a markup that's included. And when we selected firms, we were very concerned and interested that we wanted the temp firms to be able to pay benefits to these temps. And so we could get probably more inexpensive temp firms, but it was important that they provide these temps with health insurance and vacation and personal time. And so there usually is about at least a 20% markup, sometimes more.
It's great to see all the MBEs and MWBs.
Yeah.
Yep. Great.
Okay. Now before the HFA members is a resolution that was transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the HFA members, all in favor, please say aye.
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 The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Thank you, Lisa. All right, we are going to move to the information item, which is item 9, current agency procurement and contracts in the lobbying restricted period. And then we will move to the approval of the HFA projects on the agenda. We are going to take up item 10. Julie is going to come up and present a resolution authorizing an increase from $16.5 million to $29.9 million on an 25.9, sorry, on an HFA subsidy loan for the Olveston Apartments project in the city of Utica, where I was last week, I would note, in Oneida County. Lovely Utica. I did see this. Yeah, I went on a driving tour with the mayor. We saw everything that we got cooking in Utica over about a 2-hour period, which actually is a lot. And the mayor has been there he's just ending his term now. And I had the pleasure of actually meeting him first in 2015 and had done sort of a similar tour with him. So it was neat to go and look at all the stuff that actually we financed, both new construction and preservation in Utica. It's really a great city that's done an enormous amount of work and actually has they have what do you call those? The welcoming centers, the like immigrant welcoming centers. So they have such a diverse population in Utica, and yeah, it's a great success story.
I don't think of Utica having a diverse population.
It's very diverse.
Yeah, they do welcome a lot of immigrants. It's true.
Yeah.
It's a great little city. Thank you for that Ken Adams fact.
Yes. That's right. I forgot I need to be doing more of them, and I did see Olveston. Sorry, Betsy.
I apologize for interrupting. Ruthann and Diana are very clear, but folks on the wings are much more muted. I don't know whether that's just the volume with which you're speaking or microphone.
Yeah, we can pull them a little closer.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. Great. Julie and Russell, take it away.
Hi, good morning, everyone. So I am here to present an additional financing request for the Olveston Apartments located in Utica. This is a project that's coming back to us for additional financing, so I wanted to just do a brief summary of the original project and a reminder to the board. This deal was originally approved in March of 2022. And you may recall this building is a large historic preservation rehab project. This was an important priority for the mayor at that time. This building, when it was originally built at the turn of the last century, was luxury housing. It was actually the largest residential building upstate between Utica and Buffalo. Russell unearthed that fact when he originally prepared this this funding memo. So we took on this building. By the time we were, able to intervene, the project had fallen into extreme disrepair. The project, the building was essentially condemned by the locality. The remaining tenants were relocated, and the mayor made local funds available to help us secure it until such time that we can come in to finance the rehab, which we did. And the building is currently under construction. It's going to result in 153 units of affordable housing. It's located on Genesee Street, which is just southwest of downtown. And it's an area where the city has particular focus in their consolidated plan and where HCR has made significant other affordable housing investment in recent years. So fast forward, they started construction, and as we know, this is a historic project, and so is also getting quite a lot of equity from historic tax credits. So they had a very specific scope of work. Once they got in there and started looking at the plaster work, they realized it was all mixed with asbestos. And so they had to pull, and in addition, in the time before we could get in there to fully secure the building, there was additional water damage, water and snow damage that came in that winter. So in addition to the asbestos-filled plaster, there was additional scoping for the facade. Now, this was key because we needed these historic tax credits to finance the project. So balancing all the needs, the safety, environmental needs, the historic needs, they went back. They got a new scope approved by SHPO. And now, and it opened up about an $11-ish million gap in construction. So our workout strategy is for the agency to help fill that construction gap. This will allow them to generate additional equity on the tax credits due to the expanded scope in both historic and federal. And the sponsor is contributing $1 million of equity. So what we're requesting today is an additional $9 million in construction to help them get through to the end. What we anticipate is that some portion of that will be paid back to the agency in perm because they're able to generate additional equity. So this essentially is sort of a 50-50 split with us coming in with about half of the required additional funding and the sponsor and the equity doing the rest of the job. So, we feel for all of the reasons, this is really a very important and, really a great high-profile project for the city of Utica. And so I am here to request your approval of the increase of $9.4 million in subsidy. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Thanks, Julie.
Can I just ask that question? Do you know if they're going to put the turrets back versus these? Like, it's really, not, versus the original building, or doing an additional tree planting to make it come back to where it was? I think it's
Put the what back?
the turrets on the top. If you go look at the original photo,
Two photos.
the two photo contrasts on page 250.
They took
Oh,
the turrets
those.
off.
Oh, yeah. I don't know
probably.
the answer to that.
And it just doesn't look.
It just doesn't look as
like
nice.
the roofs
I
on
can't
top of
imagine.
them.
I'm down,
Colorful
if it
roofs.
costs extra money to do it, I think
Well,
it's
it's probably a SHPO item.
Yeah, I don't know.
SHPO is probably requiring
Could
them to
find
put it back. I
Yeah.
can't imagine they wouldn't.
maybe. I don't
They
know.
might, but you could also sort of see, depending on what the cost would be.
Yeah.
That could be
SHPO
like,
doesn't care about cost.
That's true.
okay.
We can,
But there's no question.
yeah, can we
SHPO
just
has
ask
this
at maybe next
photograph,
board
that's
meeting, give a little update on that?
Yes, I
Aesthetically
can
would be
verify the
James.
SHPO
Yeah.
approved scope.
It's
Yeah.
good that we have our focus on the aesthetics here because
But
there's no
yes.
question that they would add More trees, for sure.
Well, it's a good rehab, so
Come on.
there's not much,
Well, you know what, it's
I
consistent
like
with
that
this.
spaceship design they had.
You know, no one has to be Alex.
Yeah. Mies van der Rohe.
are they recreating the original plaster designs?
To the extent that that they can. So it's really a balance between what SHPO approves in order to get those historic credits. So
Yeah.
I do know that they had to redo all the plaster scope now, but they do intend to put in the plaster, replace the plaster.
Yeah,
I don't know all the details of the differences
it's a
though.
beautiful building.
Yeah,
It is
it is.
really a magnificent building.
I had one quick question. Clearly, this has very specific things that created the cost overruns. But typically in a deal like this, what is your contingency? Are you at 10% or 15 or 10?
Yeah, 10.
Yeah, so we've gone to looking at closer to 15, just because every deal seems to be coming back now for additional, and to sort of facilitate more efficiency. And this is an outlier. It's just something to think about.
I think here one of the concerns is too, is that this issue happened like very early into construction, right? So I think
Right.
people were a little nervous about tapping the contingency
Yeah.
when they were at 20, some fairly low percent completion.
This exceeds, I imagine, what the contingency was anyway, what the need is here, but.
That's right.
um,
And we'll come back in to, refund that contingency for going forward.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course. We're just seeing so much of the same, where everyone's coming
Are you
back.
seeing it more in older buildings? So I think that's where you find these like surprises as you do.
Yeah, most of the buildings financed, existing buildings are really old, so you see it pretty routinely.
Yeah.
And it's really just create that efficiency so that everything doesn't have to go back through the process of reapproval, but.
Of course, yeah.
Other
Yeah,
questions?
we're paying close attention.
It's a great building, and
question.
no problem with the increase.
Great, okay, let's do it.
Now before the HFA members is a resolution to be adopted that was transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the first and second previously entered for HFA, all in favor, please say aye.
Bye.
Aye.
The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Great, now we're going to go to item number 11, which is a resolution authorizing an HFA subsidy loan in an amount not to exceed $16,588,865 under the Supportive Housing Preservation Program, which I think this might be the first time we're saying those words in our board meeting, for the Cornerstone Project in Newburgh, Orange County, and Russell is going to present.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, as part of the current housing plan that was released last year, and that typically includes, subsidy program funding for things like public housing, senior housing, Michelamas, new construction of affordable housing. There's also a very large supportive housing component. It's probably one of the largest, if not the largest funded subsidy program I think that we get. A new thing this time around, though, is that we can now use this funding not only for new construction, which we do a lot of, but also preservation. So we put together a term sheet for this program late last year. Little by little, it's starting to gain some traction. And so I'm here to present the first candidate for this supportive preservation program. Working with existing supportive housing, such as this project, Cornerstone Residence up in Newburgh, Orange County, it's challenging to say the least, not really because of the scope of work, because it's the scope of work for most of these properties is similar to what we do on other preservation deals. The buildings are typically at least 20 years old or even older, retrofitted adaptive reuse buildings, as is the case in this project. That's normal business for us, but it's the financial aspect of these properties that I think is proving to be most challenging. And this is because permanent supportive housing, by its nature, it serves the most vulnerable populations. It's almost completely reliant upon government subsidy and assistance to operate. Funding through state programs such as ESHI, HHAP, through the OMH and OTDA agencies, what we call the O agencies, as well as federal funding through HUD's Continuum of Care program. This is what keeps supportive housing afloat. The services that are provided to the residents and the rental assistance to help the project cover its expenses and its debt obligations every year. These programs have been quite stable and reliable over the years. However, they are limited, and ultimately over time, a lot of these properties are unable to continue to meet their expenses, let alone make repairs or even upgrade their aging building systems. So in a nutshell, that's why we're here today to present this project, Cornerstone Residence. It's located in Newburgh. As I said, it's in historic downtown district on Broadway. It's a 4-story elevator building that houses 128 units of fully supportive permanent housing. The building was originally built as a hotel in the 1920s. It was later converted into supportive housing for formerly homeless individuals. By the late 1990s, the operation was considered substandard. It had fallen into disrepair. At that point, a nonprofit organization called Safe Harbors of the Hudson came in. They took over the building in 2002. They came to DHCR to refinance in 2004 with 9% tax credits. And then the project was actually granted Supportive Housing Network of New York's Residents of the Year award in 2007. So they basically rescued the project. But that was still, 20 some odd years ago. They're coming back now because they need some repairs and they'd like to do some upgrades to the building systems. The 128 units, they receive supportive services from, I think, 3 different contracts. OTDA, the Office of Temporary Disability and Assistance, has 39 units specifically designated for residents with a documented mental illness. They're covered under a supportive services agreement. I'm sorry, that's OMH. I'm confusing my O agencies. The supportive services agreement with the Office of Mental Health, and then 22 units are specifically designated for residents who have experienced homelessness and are covered under a supportive services contract from HUD's Continuum of Care program. Safe Harbors is the sole owner of the project now. The tax credit partnership that was formed in 2004, they are now the 100% owner of the partnership. It's an old building. There's limitations of the supportive assistance provided. The project is in a situation where the expenses are currently increasingly unable to be covered by its limited revenue. So they came to us. Luckily, it kind of coincided with our shop preservation subsidy. They originally came as a regular tax credit deal, but the program had just come out, and so we were able to sort of reconfigure their financing structure and provide the subsidy, which I think is a lot more streamlined and a lot easier to implement. The subsidy will be in an amount not to exceed $16.6 million. It'll serve to finance renovations to the building at up to about $75,000 per unit. They'll also fund replacement and operating reserves. This is important. That will help keep the building in a position to continue to meet expenses and operations for the long term, because the supportive contracts that they have are limited. We have flexibility in our funding where we can actually help beef up their reserves so they can stay afloat. The scope of work items are substantial. That's going to be replacement of the heating, ventilation, and air conditioning systems, the hot water supply pumps, replacement of the elevators. There are 2 elevators in the building, roof replacement, windows, upgrades to the fire alarm system, repairs to the building facade and parapets, new LED lighting, kitchen renovations, and new appliances in the residential units. The scope of work was substantiated by an IPNA. It'll result in cost savings and energy efficiency improvements that will exceed our agency's baseline 20% energy reduction goals for existing buildings. Specifically with the energy efficiency, they will be replacing the cooling tower on the roof with what they call a variable frequency drive. Please don't ask me to explain that exactly, but it will apparently reduce energy usage by up to 30% from the existing system. Hot water pumps will be replaced with new pumps operating on a variable drive as well, which are supposed to reduce energy usage from anywhere to 30 to 65% a year. The air conditioning units will be replaced by new energy efficiency units the existing units were manufactured about 20 years ago, so they're all getting new ones. The lighting throughout the building is being replaced by new LED fixtures, which will result in a 77% reduction of energy consumption with the lighting. I'll also note that they did look into solar panels for the roof. Unfortunately, the architect had determined the structural capacity of the wood joist framing was not sufficient to support the system without having to introduce major systems throughout the structural improvements that go down to the basement. It just was not cost efficient for any projected benefit that they would receive. So unfortunately, they had to abandon that proposal. And then just the last note on the supportive services and the amenities that are going to the project. They're provided to residents, including crisis intervention, counseling, employment, vocational assistance, life skills training, educational assistance, and money management. There's 24-hour security, computer lab, fitness center, library, wellness center, free and discounted tickets to their community events. That's important as there are 2 art exhibition venues operated by the owner in the building. There's also the historic Ritz Theater, which is located in the building and which is used for performance venues and movies and things like that. The owner is hoping to eventually restore the theater to its original luster. It's functional, but it could use some work. That's not part of this particular scope here. But and finally, the building includes 2 ground floor commercial spaces, which are occupied by a coffee shop and a co-working space, which help to contribute to the growing economic vitality of Newburgh's downtown revitalization efforts. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Russell.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, you want to go first? I just had a question. Looking at the building and the pictures, it looks like there's baseboard electric heating, and that's going to be retained.
Yeah, it's going to be upgraded, but it's going to be retained.
And that's sufficient?
Yeah. They did renovation to the heating in the first restoration back in 2004, so they're in pretty good shape at this point. They're about halfway through their useful life.
I was just going to suggest this project makes me feel old. I was lending in Newburgh when it needed to be rescued, and I was around for the initial 9% deal. And so it's not, to see it come to a point now where it needs renovation again, it's kind of reminds me, boy, I feel so old when I get it. But I very much appreciate the attention to the energy efficiency detail, the attempt at solar. And I do think that in situations like this where there are technology options, like the ones you described that you can't describe in detail, are extremely helpful to try to get to the efficiency that we can't get to if we're not going to replace and get to an all-electric, near passive situation. So it's great to see. I have one other question. I remember originally there were artists living in the building.
Yeah, I think there's about 12 or 13 units that are dedicated to artist space. Artist supportive housing units.
Artists, yeah. So they're also supportive.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
All right, okay, that's great.
And they get to work in the galleries that they have downstairs. So it's a nice system they have set up.
No, with Avante after Caspasiva, they're all squared away. I know there were some challenges with it, but that's fine. You guys are good with them or no? Yeah.
I think so. I think
That was a hard project. That was a
has-
really crazy
There's
project.
a lot of
so
stuff
fair enough.
happening there, so
I assume
think.
that's okay. It was just used as the mention as the reference for the last project. I know that was tough.
And they're working it through. on
That's right, and that's a
Caspasiva.
tough one. Exactly.
Yeah, they're working it through.
Great. Anything else? Yeah. We didn't hear anything from you, from Albany folks? You good? Okay.
Now before the HFA members is a resolution to be adopted that was transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the first and second previously entered for HFA, all in favor, please say aye.
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 The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Great. Now we're going to move to the AHC consent item, which is item number 13 on the agenda. Thank you, Julie. Thank you, Russell. Which is a resolution authorizing an award of grant funds for certain projects.
Now before AHC is a resolution that was transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the first and second previously recorded, all in favor, please say aye.
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 The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
The one thing I would make a comment for the record on that though is
Yes.
that we are expanding this in Delaware County, for example, and the lack of new construction in a lot of these rural counties is a large part of the reason that we have to do this. And so the fact is that that this is not helping. This is making purchase price. It's like increasing it for people with higher incomes, but it's still hard for the people that are lower income in these communities because of the lack of that. But it's a great program. It's an amazing program, but I think that's just a note for the record. In some of these rural counties, it's hard, as I was mentioning.
Been joined by Dominic Martello. Let the record reflect.
Hi.
Hi.
But this is great, and it's absolutely necessary because there's a huge gap in a lot of these counties. And
Mm.
thank you.
Yeah, the reason we came back to the board initially that first line, up to 90% of AMI. It restricts what we're allowed to do after we go to contract. They tried to run the program at that income level. This is acquisition rehab. They couldn't match people at those incomes to that existing homes in that area, so they just wanted, excuse me, to expand it. And it's a tiered structure. It'll go 40, 32, and 25.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Great.
If you want to contact anybody in
No,
Roxbury,
if
they want to reach out to us, we have an open funding round.
Yeah, I'll just make a note that it would be great if AHC could be a higher number, you know, from 40,000, 50,000, like to reflect the higher costs, but.
Per unit.
Are we?
So we just went out with our current note for legislation passed last year. We had some time to put into place where it goes up to, I'm going to say 70,000, maybe 75. I don't remember off the top of my head. There's the way the legislation was passed and written. It's based on depth and length of affordability. So internally, we wrestled with this on how to get there. Yeah. So there's a lot of yoga and acrobatics going on. But so anyway, we got to a place where if you're at this income, let's say 60%, or if you have a length of affordability of 30 or more years, you can get to 70,000. We found historically that if you throw 70,000 out there, they start there, right?
Yeah,
It's
no,
like
that's right.
everybody will assume it. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you.
Okay.
Happy 4th of July.
And so now we'll,
We already voted.
we voted.
Okay, that was your after vote comment. All right, we are now going into executive session. So Diana will take us through the motions for that.
I ask for a motion and a second to go into executive session pursuant to section 105E to discuss collective bargaining agreement negotiations. Could I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. We are in executive session.
Let's wait until folks.
Okay, we're gonna ask folks to depart. Thank you.
We didn't get the memo that today was.
So moved.
Second? Okay. We are now back in public session.
Lou,
Let's go back and,
tell us when we're back.
yeah, we should let.
I just
people
sent an
know.
email to everyone that we're back.
Are we recording now?
Recording has started, and I sent an email to staff that we're back.
Yeah. Yeah, no. Yeah, I felt that this morning too, yeah. Mhm.
It's amazing how.
The difference.
Yeah, you don't realize how much.
Yes, and not
And
feel.
you play, I know.
You're inspiring, Sadie.
Oh,
Every-
thank you,
every-
James. In every way.
Every way, every day.
If I can athletically inspire you, that's pretty big.
I think these projects make you feel old.
That Newburgh project, I'm like, oh my God, really? I can't tell you, I walked through that building in like 1994.
See, I don't remember any of the addresses of the projects we
Well,
find.
the pictures, I
Do we
go
have to say
right
no
to the
votes for
pictures.
organization?
Right? I knew 111 Broadway, I'm like, oh my God.
Okay, we, no votes were taken.
Lillian, tell us.
She already told
Oh,
us.
she did? Okay, all right. So just to verify, no votes were taken in executive session. And we are now going to take up item 9 on the agenda, 12 on the agenda, which is a resolution authorizing execution of a collective bargaining agreement with the union representing HFA and AHC employees. And Betsy is going to present. Are we going to present? Yes, Betsy is going to present quickly. Or at whatever speed you'd like to.
1.5, is that okay? Or whatever on the
Yes.
playback, that's how I listen to my podcast. Good morning. We're very excited to be presenting for the board's approval the union contract with UAW. As we just discussed some of the details in our executive session, but I think I'm really, really excited. It has been the product of a lot of work on the part of both the HR team and union members, and I'm very, very excited as to where we've landed. I hope that those on the call or in the agency are also excited in terms of the increases that we were able to provide, and also some of the other sort of changes just to make the administrative process easier. This has been many years in the making. The contract is from 21 to 26. And, it's very, very well-deserved money that is going to be in the pockets of our union members just in the next couple of weeks. So hopefully it's also exciting as the summer comes.
When do you start negotiating the next one?
Oh, Joyce, come on. Do we have to talk about that already? We'll start in the 25-26 period. Yeah. I'm just
Sorry,
kidding. But in all seriousness, while it was a very long negotiation, it was incredibly professional, incredibly cordial. I hope that's what union members would also say. And I hope that is true of the next negotiation.
So we have a couple years to enjoy this lull period.
Yeah.
We'll start again.
Yeah.
Enjoy
Absolutely.
the accomplishments of
Tax liability.
what the team achieved.
I won't ask any questions about pension benefits.
Great.
Thank you.
Any other
Thank you, Joyce.
questions from folks?
Two things. One, I'm going to recuse myself, or if that's possible, since I was here in 21 and the date of the initiation of the contract.
We have enough votes.
Okay. And second, just every penny that goes to the staff of this agency is so well deserved, since I think this is, in terms of looking at this entire United States, one of the most impactful affordable housing agencies in the entire country. And it's like what is accomplished and the amount of dollars that flow through here in programs and 1,000-page monthly board meeting things that get produced. I mean, it is the level of professionalism, and every penny is deserved to the people that work at this agency. Yeah.
Thank you, James.
Thank you,
Couldn't
James.
agree more.
I did have the, since I'm playing the role of Ken and I can just make random comments. I went to a sort of multi-state conference this week to talk about electrification of the housing stock. And it is always, I find it a little embarrassing only because that's sort of my, but to talk about the numbers and the dollars and what we're trying to achieve. And then someone, we pivot to Maine, and Maine's talking about how they're going to do, this equally impactful, but
We put it on one building, their entire program.
yeah. So, and I don't mean to pick on Maine for the record. It's just a scale thing, but I appreciate the comment, James, because we really do an enormous volume of work, an enormous amount of dollars that is tremendously impactful to the people
One
of
of
the
the
state, which is
largest muni issuers in the country.
I think it's the largest.
The
Largest housing issue.
Combined housing.
Combined, single family.
Well,
Yep.
combined, of course.
everyone. You can always be the first if you qualify yourself.
So I can't remember whether I said this in executive session or in the public. So if I'm repeating myself in the public session, apologies. But I do want to say thank you to the HR team and to the union members for the incredible amount of work and thoughtfulness that went into this negotiation. And maybe we could go to vote.
Yes. Are there any questions, comments, anything else you want to say? Great. Okay. Now before the HFA and AHC members is a resolution that was transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the HFA and AHC members, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Great. Now we are going to move to the HTFC agenda. And item number 1, the first item on the agenda, is the minutes of the board and committee meetings that were held on May 16th, 2023. The minutes shall be deemed approved, absent corrections from members and directors. Item number 2 is resolutions approving the annual independent audit, and Stacy Mickle is going to present. Hi, Stacy.
Well, good morning. I'm going to present very briefly. My presentation is to introduce Jeremy Smith, who is from Lumsden McCormick. They are our auditors in the second year of their engagement. So he would like to give us a short presentation on the financial statements audit, and we'll answer any questions you have. And I believe there's a PowerPoint presentation that was distributed to all the members and should be right there.
Yes. Yep, we have them on our.
Go back a couple of pages. Yep. Perfect.
Okay. Well, thank you guys. I'm Jeremy. I've been working with Bonnie and Stacy and conducting the audit this year. I'll keep this brief. I'll hit a high level, but if there's anything I go through too quick, please let me know. I'll go on to the page 1. This is a summary of the various reports that we have issued as part of the financial statements. The first one deals with that 30-page document that you have, kind of the audit. main crux of why we're hired. And it basically states that your job is to ensure the financial statements are in accordance with the generally accepted accounting principles. Our job as auditors is to express an opinion on that. We issued a clean, unmodified, the best opinion we can issue, so good job. The one other thing I would like to point out there is something we call an emphasis of matter paragraph that is not new. It's something we've had for a number of years, and this deals with the HUD audits we've had from 2015 to 2019. They had some question costs, and we're still dealing with that process. We did pay them about $30 million in the past year, but that's all they've required. So we're still in a waiting game with that, but just due to the significance of the amount and the uncertainty with it, there's an additional paragraph on there, but nothing new. The next one deals with in compliance with investment guidelines in accordance with New York State and public authorities. There's no issues noted there during our testing, so good job. There's also no material weakness letter. We did have a couple standards. Once we get into a couple more slides regarding upcoming accounting guidelines that will apply to us, may or may not apply, but just making you aware. And then lastly, the required communications, and I'll kind of go over on slide 2. So this is a required communication to the board. It's a standard letter. I'll just briefly talk about a couple of them. Obviously, there was no disagreements with management, no audit findings or issues. Our accounting estimates, we have to evaluate and make sure they're reasonable. We have, if you look at one of the most significant ones is your allowance for mortgage and interest receivables. You actually have about $2.4 billion in loan receivables, but we have an allowance against that knocks it down to about $3 million due to the uncertainty of collecting those. And then a couple more are your OPEB, which is retirees' health insurance, in which we hire a third-party actuary to conduct, and we'll discuss some of the numbers in the next slide. Pension, New York State actually has their own actuary that calculates that, and there's some assumptions there, and that's related to the ERS or employee retirement system. We had no corrected or uncorrected misstatements. Great job, accounting staff. Literally had no entries, so that's always great to see. And then the last paragraph just mentions the emphasis of matter related to the HUD. So page 3, I'll just briefly talk about these. These are upcoming accounting standards. None of them should have a significant impact, but they are upcoming. Talking to Bonnie, GASB likes giving us new accounting standards to follow. So the next one that affects us is 96, and it may or not. I talked to Bonnie. We don't think we have too many, but it's something we'll have to evaluate. The new standard basically says that any subscription-based technology arrangements will have to be recorded on our balance sheet as a right-to-use asset and a right-to-use liability if we deem it significant enough. So we'll just have to work on this upcoming year, gather a list of those, and determine whether they need to be recorded or not. And the next one, 99, is just clarifying some disclosures and footnotes through many standards, since a lot of these standards are getting pretty old. And then if we go to the page 4, we got another one, that GASB 100, that deals with accounting errors and error corrections, accounting changes and error corrections, sorry. This probably won't ever affect you. This is if we came across an error in the prior year that was significant, and how would we restate that in the financial statements. So pretty sure it'll never affect you, but it is an upcoming standard. GASB 101, dealing with compensated absence, is a standard that will affect us. We currently follow GASB 16 right now, and what compensated absence are basically accruals for our sick, vacation, personnel leave that will be paid out either at retirement or termination that we're obligated to. That standard's from 1992, so they kind of updated the language to kind of be more in time with, like, PTO and things. So it changes some of the footnotes disclosures, but we'll have a couple years to really worry about that.
And we already have that information in our financial statements.
Correct. So next we can talk about on page 5, we can start talking some numbers. Overall, your total assets are up about $89 million. If you look at your cash and investments, then total are up about 60. Well, if you look at, on the next slide we'll get into, but then the total change of net position, we had a $58 million net change or surplus this year. So it's basically due to operations. Government grants receivable, they're up 28 million. But if you look at your accounts payable and awards payable, the 34 and the -7, that's about a 27 million. So it's a timing change from the prior year. And then if you're OPEB and pension, so a pension, this is just our employee retirement system, all actuarial calculated. You can see it went down 1.4. This is actually measured as a year behind, so it's measured as 3/31/2022. The ERS system was actually overfunded, so that's good for everybody that is in that system in the New York State. It's about 103%. 100% would be a zero across the board. So we had actually about a $3 million asset on the books this year. Prior year, it was 99.95% funded, which was about a $40,000 liability on our books. There is some net of deferred inflows and outflows, but basically what that led to was a decrease in our pension expense during this year. I think the best way to look at that is the more funded it is, the lower it's going to keep our employer contribution rates. And that was the case last year as well. So that's always good to see. OPEB deals with retiree health insurance obligation. I think we're on the hook for about 90% of retirees' health insurance once they retire for life. That rate went up a little bit due to the actuary. They have some expected changes in rates versus actual, so they expected our payroll costs to be a little lower than were actual. They expected claims to be a little lower than actual, as well as our premium costs. So it went up just due to inflation and all sorts of other factors. The net position, or restricted, is basically made up of our federal, state, and donor restricted grants. So the biggest one is our state, which is about 251 million. Last year was 243, so it went up about $7-8 million. Federal is up to 215. Last year is 175, so it went up 40. Well, 42 million of that was due to the ARPA Homeowners Assistance Fund that we'll talk about in a couple more slides, but really got up and going in 2023. So that was most of the change, and then our unrestricted is everything that's left over. So if we go to slide 6, we'll kind of see our revenues and expenses. So total operating revenue is down slightly, $7 million. And you can see it's from the fees from other programs, which is down mostly due to our CBDG disaster recovery program with Hurricane Sandy. The program's starting to wind down as we get farther and farther away from that. And that's the same reason why you see other operating expenses down as well. There are some other categories which had some other CBDG disaster recovery as well. But overall, that's the reason why the operating expense is down. And then we can see our operating income is actually pretty consistent. We are down about $1 million. The one other thing to point out, salaries and wages, we actually had 2 raises in the 23 fiscal year just due to some timing in the prior year. So, each raise is about $250,000. So, if you wanted to get it more in line, that's a $500,000 swing. So our operatings are pretty consistent, and especially for your organization, that's the crux. That's how we get our money. So we are pretty stable right now. Non-operating is mostly our pass-through grants, our federal revenues and expenses, as well as state. You can see, and we'll get into more detail in the next couple slides, but overall our federal revenue went up 516 million, our expenses went up 510. Grant revenue did decrease, but we can kind of talk about where timing gets significant in that factor, and our grant expenses are up for about 49 million. So overall, we had a $58 million change position. Last year was 100. 2021 was 20 million. So we've been pretty good these last 3 years. If you go into the next slide, we can kind of see more detail of our federal revenue sources, and you can kind of see that everything went up actually, the revenues and the expenses. But if you notice on page 7 that the ARPA, American Homeowners Assistance Fund, increased about 337 million, sorry, which was due to just our program just kind of started at the tail end of 2022 fiscal year, and then it really got up and going in 2023. And then the rest of them went up. Revenue, expenses went up, so nothing of significance. If you go to, page 8, you'll kind of see the state grants, in which you'll see the overall total revenue went down, but the main reason is, if you look at our Gosser Capital, that's kind of the timeline. Last year, it's really cash flow. We received a lot more in last year than we did this year. But if you add the two together, that's about 159 million. If you add the two Gosser Capital expenses together, it's 153 million. So about a $5 million change in that position, but that kind of sways this whole schedule. I mean, if you evened it out between the 2 years, that would bring another $37 million in 2023, less than 2022, but $37 million added on to our roughly 4.8 right there. It gets about 42 million this year. Last year would decrease it down to about 21 million. So a lot of timing transactions during a grants detail, but that's how it can kind of swing our overall change in net position. But there's a lot of timing of grants, and if you did that same analysis on that change in net position, we had 58 this year, you had another 37, we're up to about 96. Last year took 37, about 62. So it just, and you probably do that a lot for a lot of programs, but for state-wise, the Gosser was one of our larger programs. So so another solid year, and that's all I really had. Questions? I know I went quick, so.
I just had one question. When you're talking about pensions, aren't the pensions part of the New York State Common Retirement Fund?
Yes.
Or is it separate?
Nope, it is. We're required, and actually all other government entities they're required our share. So our share is it's probably 0.02% of it. So it's like that for all government entities that are part of that. So we're just recording our share of that.
And so you're not looking at anything like investment returns. That's all done by the state controller's office.
Correct. And then they get audited by another accounting firm as well, and they issue their audited financial statements.
Yeah.
Yep.
Interesting. Interesting division of labor.
Thank you.
Great. Other questions?
Okay, now before the audit committee is a resolution approving the annual independent audit. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the HTFC audit committee. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion is carried and the resolution adopted. It's the audit committee, right?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, now before the HTFC members is a resolution approving the annual independent audit. So now it's for all the members. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the HTFC board, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Great.
Aye.
The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Great. Okay. So now we'll go to, thank you very much for that. We will go to item number 3, the resolution approving the annual procurement report and procurement and contract guidelines. And Lisa is going to present.
These two are just the governance.
Yeah.
Good morning. I'd like to introduce Jerome White, who's the Director of Procurement for HTFC's Office of Resilient Homes and Communities, and our colleague Cassie Ward, who's the Managing Director of Legal Operations, also at the Office of Resilient Homes and Communities. We're before you with the annual procurement report for HTFC for the fiscal year ending March 31st, 2023. Just want to highlight that during this past year, we amended the guidelines twice. First in January to mirror the statutory limitation or threshold, for MWBs, SDVOBs, and small businesses from 200,000 to 500,000. And also we added the defined term of SDVOB to the guidelines. In addition, in March, we amended the guidelines to include now the Office of Resilient Homes and Communities, which used to be formerly the Office of Storm Recovery. And the guidelines were amended to now delete the phrase, to distinguish the two guidelines, GOZA's guidelines from HTFC's. We had a phrase excluding contracts funded by HUD's Community Development Block Disaster Recovery. So that's now been deleted. So all of those funds will now be subject to, those contracts will be subject to these guidelines. We also added a few defined terms to the guidelines and a couple of amendments to the contracting process to keep in line with what the Office of Storm Recovery had in their guidelines. Other than that, I have no other outstanding items on this report. Cassie, do you want to present the MW analysis for RHC?
Sure, thank you. So one of the other things that you will see in the materials that were provided to you for today is that we submitted the same report that we do annually. Like Lisa said, formerly it was from the Governor's Office of Storm Recovery. This year it's from the Office of Resilient Homes and Communities. And so what we do every year is we take a look at our expenditures and we take a look at what was expended on contracts or subcontracts with MWBEs and SDVOBs. And so those numbers, particularly MWBE numbers, were strong this year. We had 33.34% MBE utilization and 11.56 WBE utilization. So the goal is 30%, 15 and 15 for state funding, for state agencies. And regardless of the fact that we're using federal funding, we've very much prioritized our relationships with MWBEs, Section 3s, SDVOBs, and doing as much outreach as we can to get as much utilization as we can. And so happy to report that we've been successful, and thank you obviously to procurement teams because that's an essential element of this. And then SDVOB, we were not able to meet the 6% goal, but we did have some utilization at 0.24%. So that's where we were for the last fiscal year.
Great, thank you.
Any questions on that?
Okay.
Okay. Now before the Governance Committee is a resolution approving the annual procurement report and procurement contract guidelines. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the HTFC Governance Committee, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Yes. Great.
Thank you.
The motion is carried and the resolution adopted. Now before HTFC members is a resolution approving the annual independent audit, assuming the first and second. No, I think this should be.
Yeah, for annual, right?
Okay, this is approving the annual procurement report and procurement contract guidelines. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the HTFC board, all in favor, please say aye.
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 The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Great, thank you. Thank you all. Item number 4 is a resolution approving the annual property disposal report and property disposal guidelines, and Stacy is going to present.
Good morning again. As most of you are aware, since 2013, properties were purchased through the buyout and acquisition programs administered through Governor's Office of Storm Recovery, now the Office of Resilient Homes and Communities. These properties were purchased using the Federal Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery Funds. Since their purchase, many of these properties have either been sold or transferred to other parties, namely municipalities or other not-for-profit entities. As required by the authority's budget office, this report has been submitted to you to outline what happened in this past fiscal year in regards to these properties. Last year, we did not acquire any additional properties through this program. We sold or transferred 66 properties and 219 remain in inventory. The RHC team is working diligently to transfer or sell the remaining properties, and it is anticipated that the majority, if not all, will be transferred or sold by the end of this current fiscal year. So keep your fingers crossed on that. I know they've had some struggles in the past year or two with that. Within your board materials is a listing of properties that were sold or transferred, as well as a listing of all the remaining properties held in inventory. I have also attached a copy of the current policy. We are not seeking any changes to that policy at this time. So at this time, if you don't, I am seeking approval of the property report and the policy, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have in regards to this item.
Just looking at the list of addresses, these look like they were all, excuse me, very small properties. Is that correct?
Yes, so correct. They're all individual homes. So these were purchased post-Sandy. Many of them were bought out in neighborhoods throughout Long Island and Staten Island in kind of a collective group, or they were purchased individually.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry?
Some looks like it was one complex.
Yeah, some of it does.
Yeah.
Great, okay.
Now before the HTFC Governance Committee is a resolution approving the annual property disposal report and property disposal guidelines. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the HTFC Governance Committee, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried and the resolution adopted. Now before the HTFC members is a resolution approving the annual property disposal report and property disposal guidelines. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the HTFC board, all in favor, please say aye.
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 The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Great. Item number 5 is a resolution approving the annual report on investments and investment policy, and Stacy is going to present this one too.
Good morning again. Within your board materials is the annual investment report and the investment policy for the corporation. Our investments include amounts held for the various programs that we receive funding for, whether federal or state, as well as mortgage principal and interest payments that we receive. The investments are held in various bank accounts and are segregated by program, and the interest that we earn on those program investments are held in the accounts for continued use by the corporation for those various programs. So for example, if we earned interest on an HTF award or HTF projects, those are held in an HTF account in order for us to make future awards. A significant increase in the investments was earned over the last fiscal year due primarily to an increase in the amount of funding in our accounts and the more favorable interest rates that we saw in the past year. A summary of the investment accounts and cash accounts is attached. And at this time, I am seeking approval of both the investment report and the policy, which we are not recommending any changes to. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Great, thank you, Stacy. Any questions?
I am just amazed at the number of programs and the amounts of detail that's required to administer this agency.
Yes,
I think
duly
HTFC
noted.
has 80 programs that we administer and we segregate.
And you have to keep track of all of them.
Wow.
We do.
And some that aren't.
were and don't exist anymore.
Correct, including some that, we're just receiving mortgage interest and principal payments on that we are not actively doing new programs with yet.
Right. Thank goodness for computers.
Right.
And good staff.
I'd say thank goodness.
And great staff.
Okay, now before the HTFC members is a resolution approving the annual report on investments and investment policy. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the HTFC board, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Great. Item number 6 is a resolution approving the annual HTFC operations and accomplishments report, and Diana is going to present.
Okay. The Public Authorities Reform Act of 2009 requires HTFC to issue an annual report setting forth its operations and accomplishments. This report can be found in the board materials. As detailed in the report, HTFC operates through broad offices of HCR, including the program offices for community and economic development, affordable housing preservation, single and multifamily affordable housing financing and development, and resilient homes and community development. Program staff are here to present on their areas. We'll start with the Office of Community Renewal, and I'll turn over to Crystal Loeffler.
Good morning. During this year, the Office of Community Renewal, or OCR, continued its work delivering housing and community development resources. The programs offered through OCR are delivered through partnerships with units of local government, nonprofit organizations, and developers throughout the state. This structure, relying on the local expertise of these partners, allows HCR to issue a high volume of awards, address many types of needs, and reach deep into all areas of New York State. OCR administers a wide variety of programs and funding mechanisms that vary in scale and produce meaningful impact in all of the communities that participate. OCR's annual housing activities cover small rental development, homeowner repair, manufactured housing replacement, accessibility modifications, down payment assistance, and tenant rental assistance. And then OCR's work goes beyond these housing activities and supports planning and technical assistance, public facilities and infrastructure, economic development, and downtown or Main Street revitalization. OCR is part of a larger agency unit called the Office of Homeownership and Community Development, and the report outlines accomplishments beyond OCR into that larger office. In addition to the typical annual programs included in the report, this larger unit has launched several new programs and continued to support recovery initiatives underway this year. Some highlights are included in the report. In the report, you'll see the dollar value of all of the awards made, the funds leveraged by each of these program areas, and the units produced, jobs created, and just assistance provided in many parts of the state. These programs are all complementary and work together to achieve more holistic community renewal, support for the communities of New York State, and to advance HCR's core mission. Thank you.
Thank you, Crystal. Now I'll turn it over to Dan Byer for Section 8. In the Office of Housing Preservation, we have 6 kind of people that are going to come and tell us about different things in this group. Thank you, Dan.
Sure.
Welcome.
Morning, everybody. This year we completed what has been, over the past several years, I think probably the busiest time in Section 8's history at this agency. We have a lot going on, and we're able to balance a lot through a great team that includes Connie Bruno, Amy Anzarillo, of course, Becky, as well as our partners in procurement, HTFC Finance, Legal, and elsewhere. I'll try to touch on just a few of them quickly. The major challenge, of course, in the voucher program is utilization, which is a challenge nationally due to a limited housing stock. We have seen 10 straight months of increases in HCV utilization. We've made unprecedented investments using project-based vouchers with the finance and development team. We're offering incentives, and we're having partnerships. We've also seen the emergence of our utilization in the emergency housing voucher program, which is a new program we rolled out in 2021. Among the larger PHAs in the country, we have among the best utilization rates, and are now almost fully utilized and expect to be fully utilized by September. We've taken a number of steps to be more efficient and to work more productively with that constituency. As you know, we secured the local administrator network this year. which was no small undertaking and rather an unprecedented step, I think, in HCR's history. We are in the process of implementing a new technology solution in emphasis. We've done surveys to landlords and tenants and local administrators to get feedback on what we're doing and how we can improve utilization. And we're exploring new partnerships related to source of income discrimination. On the RRAP side, we continue to remain effective. RRAP has bucked the trend of rapidly rising rents, in large part due to some very smart investments we made with the weatherization team in the first part of the last decade that have kept costs significantly down. Building on that, we've initiated our P+ initiative to improve efficiency in the PBCA portfolio, and the first project has just been completed for that program. Most importantly, from the PBCA standpoint, we've kept the PBCA contract, which, as some of you know from the history, not always a given. Some other highlights I'd mentioned, of course, we were as responsive as we could be in responding to the tragedy at Twin Parks and the fire. There's no good way to look at that, but I think our staff did everything they possibly could to be as responsive as possible at a very difficult time. We've updated our administrative plan for Section 8, and including streamlining the process for people qualifying people as homeless, which is very important right now. We've absorbed some of the local voucher programs that went out of business, and we've added some new voucher programs, most recently the stability voucher. So that's just naming a few. Thanks.
Great. Thanks.
It's been a good year, and I have a fantastic team with me, and I'm blessed to have that.
We're lucky to have you too, Dan. So thank you for that.
Thank you for those highlights.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Yes, it's an
Okay.
impressive record.
Thanks.
Now we'll turn to Jason Pierce. Jason?
Coming up to meet the needs.
Yeah. Now we have to get new acronym.
New acronym? We have new yes. What would we be?
AHC.
Who would we be if we didn't create new acronyms all the time?
Are you sure we're talking about these two?
Just
or-
in general.
That is your mission,
I mean, you know.
Van sits in her office all day thinking about
Yeah. Acronyms. Sorry, Jason.
Well, I will try to minimize the use of these acronyms. They're a little clunky. But I'm here today to talk about the Public Housing Modernization, or PHM, and Public Housing Drug Elimination, or PHDE, programs, which are two relatively small programs that provide grants to New York State-aided public housing authorities that are ineligible for federal operating subsidies. We currently receive a combined $6.4 million between the two programs annually. And just to give you some context, the current portfolio consists of just 8 public housing authorities that have within them 16 state supervised developments. This is from 16 state supervised developments. That was down from an original 157 at one time, and include about 1,700 dwelling units, down from what originally was 62,000 that today serve approximately 3,200 residents. Over the past year, the Public Housing Modernization team has awarded about $9.5 million in PHM and PHDE grants to address critical infrastructure issues at the developments, and also to assist with the preservation of the remaining developments. Originally, the two grant programs had distinct purposes, with PHM having a focus on preservation and PHDE a focus on security and safety. But today, however, our main focus is mainly on shepherding the remaining portfolio, the remaining state portfolio through plans through comprehensive redevelopment plans, and we like to use these funds as a part of that effort. For example, earlier this year, Utica moved forward on the redevelopment of its last state-aided public housing development as part of a comprehensive redevelopment that we closed a few months back, and that this board, or more specifically the HFA,
HFA board approved a few months ago, and that secured at least 30 years of additional affordability, included in addition to the very needed capital improvements that came along with that. 5 more authorities, those being Buffalo, Greenberg, Kingston, Little Falls, and Tonawanda, are in various stages of finalizing their redevelopment plans, and of those, 3 of them have gone as far as selecting their redevelopment partners, and we continue to work with the remaining, which are Wilna, Nyack, and Salamanca, on supporting their moving forward with redevelopment plans and helping them in whatever capacity we can.
Jason.
Yep, you're welcome.
3 questions, great. Okay, Sunitha's going to talk to us about sustainability.
Morning. Okay, so this year the Sustainability Unit has worked with interagency teams to finalize the state's scoping plan, which was released in December of 2022, which detailed a list of recommendations to achieve the state's CLCPA greenhouse gas reduction goals. Ahead of the Climate Action Council scoping plan in May 2022, Sustainability, in coordination with the Design Unit, also released a trio of comprehensive sustainability guidelines, which we previously presented. The guidelines cover standards for best practices and include a set of stretch goals for new construction and existing buildings that are seeking funding from either 4% HFA or 9% HTFC financing. The guidelines also include a book for operations and maintenance support for our asset management portfolio, encouraging pathways for energy efficiency and decarbonization. Finally, this fiscal year, Sustainability has continued to operate the Weatherization Assistance Program with additional federal funds serving over 7,000 units and expanding annual funding to over $100 million. We've also expanded the Clean Energy Initiative Program funded by NYSERDA to include term sheets that support new construction and existing buildings, as well as adaptive reuse projects. To date, we have funded 22 projects, over 2,000 units, and have committed $19 million in funding. And finally, we launched in partnership with CPC, the Climate Friendly Homes Fund. This is a $250 million program, which has already received strong interest. We have over 390 units in the audit pipeline and over 4,000 completed applications at this time. We are continuing to work closely with NYSERDA to expand access to solar and clean energy funding and to coordinate future IRA applications to secure additional funding for these programs and also expand programs to support single family products as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well done.
Excellent.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much.
Now we'll turn to finance and development. Debia, give us an overview of the year.
Hi, good morning.
Hi.
So I'm here to talk about the HTFC awards that accompany the 9% tax credit awards that are awarded through our 9% RFP. So through the Office of Multifamily Finance and Development, HTFC administers programs that fund the new construction and preservation of affordable housing. In the past year, HTFC has made multifamily awards totaling over $84 million, which has leveraged approximately $21 million in private and public investment. These awards supported the development of 850 units, or will support the development of 850 units of affordable housing. The number sounds low because the last RFP was awarded after the fiscal year ended, so it's not in that. So it,
We'll get it next year. We'll get it next year.
Yeah, it'll be picked up next year. And many of the projects that receive HTFC financial support represent coordinated investments with state agency partners, including Office of Mental Health, Empire State Development Corporation, NYSERDA, OTDA. And then there's a chart that kind of lists, I think, all of the HTFC programs, and a number of them are programs that the Office of Finance and Development would award, such as SIF, Low Income Housing Trust Fund, the Senior Housing Program, Supportive Housing Opportunities Program, Federal Housing Trust Fund. That's about it. Good.
Busy year.
Busy year. Busy year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Debia. Now we'll turn to the what we now call Office of Resilient Homes and Communities, formerly GOSA. Katie?
Hello. Good morning. Good morning, everyone.
So you have heard a lot from us this year because we are in the middle of a big transition and also the end of an era. And so our accomplishments this year are much of the end of Sandy. So in the fiscal year 23, we have 5 main programs that I'll briefly touch on. The first is the final payments to the homeowner program for the repairs, rehab, mitigation. Is also bulkheads to protect folks and rentals, co-ops, and condos. As of March 30th, 2023, we made payments to 12,854 different families for $1.2 billion. And so that really is the end. As you heard,
All good things must come to an end.
All good things must come to an end. The public housing program, to make sure that folks that live in affordable and public housing are also not susceptible to storm and other natural disasters and flooding. We are on the last 2 developments and anticipate that those are done by the end of this year or early next, and those are in Long Beach and Hempstead. As you heard earlier from Stacy about some of the property disposition, we are also the very tail end of our 1,127 buyouts and acquisitions, and some of those are being disposed. I was just told I have another stack of documents to sign in the office later today, and we do think that the success of the buyout program will be used as a model for some of the future initiatives like the Environmental Bond Act. One of our hallmark programs, the Community Reconstruction and Infrastructure Program, where we had more than 70 different planning committees around the state of local community-driven initiatives. We've completed 250 of those projects, and there are 66 that are in the final stages of construction. And again, most of those will be done this year and a little bit into next before they're finally done. The last projects that we have that are large infrastructure projects that will go the longest are the Rebuild by Design competition programs, and that is Living with the Bay, which is a $125 million program across 7 different communities, which is both physical and social resiliency. We have just a couple of those projects left, and Living Breakwaters, which restores the reefs in the Raritan Bay off the southern coast of Staten Island to both rebuild the ecosystem there and protect folks from storm surge, which was the deadliest place in Superstorm Sandy. It's cutting edge green infrastructure, and if you would ever like to take a boat ride out there and go visit the barge, you are more than welcome.
Nice.
So long as it's not a rowboat.
It's not. It's quite a large industrial site, but it's nice on a good day.
Super. Thank you,
Thank
Katie.
you.
Nice
Katie.
to do in
Thank you very
summer.
much.
So now, Carrie, talk to us about MWBE.
Interesting. I'd like to know more about the Living
Morning.
Breakwaters program.
Well, the good news is I get to keep this short and sweet because we've done very well this year.
Excellent.
Our overall utilization of MWBs for HTFC is at 36%. We're still pending final review from ESD for Q3 and Q4, but even better than that, the first 3 quarters, we saw over 45% utilization. And I believe that a lot of that has to do directly with availability. Our department is changing and growing. We've changed the name of our department to the Department of Empowerment, Compliance, and Opportunity. We are hiring new staff and promoting folks who have been dedicated to the agency and ensuring that our compliance is in order with ESD while there was a leadership gap. We're improving our upstate presence. We were just at a huge expo event yesterday in Syracuse, and next month we'll be up in Buffalo. What I'm finding in the short time that I've been here, our utilization is directly tied to the availability of MWBEs and SDOBBs. So the more we're out on the field meeting folks in the various industries, the better our utilization numbers will get. But I'm happy with where we landed this year.
Great.
Thank you, Carrie.
Thank you, Carrie.
Thank you. So that's the overview. If we don't have any questions, I would now, before the HFC members, is a resolution approving the annual operations and accomplishments report. assuming the first and second previously entered for the HTFC board. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Great, thank you. I don't think we've done that in that format before. It's interesting.
So I'm like the new kid, so I guess I'll take responsibility or blame, whichever you want. But on HFA, we had the program people come. I think traditionally for this, it would just be the general counsel who would kind of give an overview. And I was like, I'm just going to read some script, which, was never that much fun. And I thought the board members would enjoy seeing the staff who can then think about what they want to tell us of their accomplishments for the year. I think it's a good way to engage them with a board that is clearly reads everything. So I thought it would be. So if you guys don't like it, you can tell me later. We'll do something different. But I also think for the staff that really puts their heart and soul, as James put out, it's really good for them to get a chance to think about what they want to tell you of what they've done this year in their own words.
And it makes the programs more
real.
Yeah. Actually, I'd like to know more about the Living Breakwaters program.
All right, noted.
First one's a boat ride.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if we can we
on a hot day
qualify with public authorities law if we do it with our meeting on a boat? Probably not.
I think if everybody's there and the public has an opportunity to participate, I think that's the key.
Okay, all right, maybe
Wait,
not.
no, it's a Zoom from a boat.
All right, moving right along. Item number 7, resolution approving the mission statement, performance report, and the amended mission statement. And Diana is going to present this one as well.
Okay, so the public authorities law requires HFC
Diana?
to have a brief. Yes?
Yes.
Diane, I'm sorry, did they vote on the last resolution? I don't think we heard a vote.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I
Boy,
thought we
see,
did.
there we go.
Sorry.
Keeping me honest. So did all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the motion is carried and the resolution adopted. Thank you, Amy. Okay. Now, going to item 7, which is the mission statement, performance report, and the amended mission statement. As I was saying, the public authorities law requires HTFC to have a brief mission statement expressing the purpose and goals of the authority. An amended mission statement and mission statement performance report may be found in the board materials. The following amendments to the mission statement are being proposed. 1, the bulk of the proposed amendments are technical amendments to conform the format of the HTFC mission statement with those of the other HCR agencies. 2, with the addition of the Office of Resilient Homes and Communities to HTFC, that office's mission has been incorporated into the mission of HTFC at large. 3rd and final, sustainability, decarbonization, and the reduction of the negative environmental impacts of housing have been proposed throughout the mission statement.
Yeah, no, I was glad to see the incorporation of decarbonization as part of the mission.
Here.
Yeah, so anyway, any questions? Okay. Amy, listen, we're going to do the vote now. Now before the HTFC members is a resolution approving the mission statement performance report and the amended mission statement. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the HTFC board, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Great. Item number 8 is a resolution approving the result and submission of the annual self-evaluations, and Diana is going to present this one as well.
Okay, another one for me. The Public Authorities Reform Act of 2009 requires the board of every state and local public authority to conduct an annual evaluation of its performance. The members of the HTFC board, governance committee, and audit committee have completed an annual review for the period commencing April 1, 2022 and ending March 31st, 2023. This year's assessment shows a high degree of unanimity among board and committee members, with all board members who responded agreeing or somewhat agreeing that the various criteria by which board and committee performance is judged are satisfied. The level of unanimity of board responses is a good indicator that the board and committees are satisfied with the way their fellow board members are approaching their tasks as board and committee members. The question of whether the board sets clear and measurable performance goals that contribute to HTFC's mission elicited an even split among respondents on whether they agreed or somewhat agreed. The question of whether the board meets to review and approve all documents and reports prior to public release and is confident that the information being presented is accurate and complete elicited 2 agree responses and 4 somewhat agree responses. Finally, the question of whether the board has identified the areas of most risk to the authority and works with management to implement risk mitigation strategies before problems occur elicit 5 somewhat agree and 1 agree responses. Any questions, comments, thoughts? Always room for improvement, I say. Okay. Now before the,
somewhat agrees to agrees.
you know, it's, filling out surveys is always, you know, it's hard to be like, you know, they're hard to get the full flavor, but that's what we've done. Now before the HTFC Audit Committee is a resolution approving the results and submission of the annual self-evaluation. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the HTFC Audit Committee, all in favor, please say aye.
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 I'm not,
Okay. The motion is carried and the resolution adopted. Now before the HTFC Board is a resolution approving the results and submission of the annual self-evaluation. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the HTFC Board, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay, now before the, interesting, okay, now before the HTFC Governance Committee is a resolution approving the board and committee self-evaluation for fiscal year 22-23. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the HTFC Governance Committee, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Oh, not me, sorry, take it back.
The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Okay. Item number 9, we have a resolution approving a Legacy City Access Program Award for the Oswego County Land Bank Corporation, and Burke is going to present, I think.
That's right. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. So this is a request for $750,000 in Legacy City subsidy to the Oswego County Land Bank to renovate 5 vacant single-family homes in the city of Fulton as first-time homeownership opportunities for low-income families. The Land Bank is the nonprofit developer for the project, and they will also act as a general contractor, but they're engaging local MWBE subcontractors representing about 50% of hard costs to meet the program goal of enhanced business opportunities for BIPOC entities and MWBEs. Since 2017, the Land Bank's work has focused primarily on rehab for home ownership, and they've completed more than 70 rehabs of similar scope to these homes, including 4 in Fulton that were recently sold to first-time home buyers. So this project is an extension of their ongoing work plan. Total development cost for this project is $1.4 million, and other financing includes a construction loan from CPC, so thank you, Sadie, which that loan will be repaid from proceeds when the homes are sold to home buyers, as well as $93,000 in Land Bank initiative funding, thank you, Crystal, toward initial property stabilization. Sales prices for these homes will average $115,000, which is affordable at approximately 70% AMI. And the homeownership counseling here will be provided by the Oswego County Development Council, which is an OCR-funded rural preservation company. So this project will add to recent homeowner-focused revitalization efforts in Fulton, including the Land Bank's 4 prior sales, 6 additional homebuyer rehabs that are being undertaken by the Fulton Community Development Agency, and a homeowner repair through the Fulton Block Builders Program. One of our 5 Legacy City homes is actually in Fulton's DRI area, so we'll benefit from the enhanced recreational and cultural opportunities being funded through that award. So we're excited to welcome another upstate land bank to our Legacy City portfolio. We have 8 projects approved now, 3 that have closed and are under construction. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
This is super. Thank you. Go ahead.
Just one comment. In the future, not all of us are that familiar with upstate New York, and I would appreciate, in addition to the pictures, which were very helpful, a map.
Oh, yeah,
we can absolutely
that's
add
doable.
Yep.
Sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Great.
I can't vote here.
Say you'll recuse yourself.
I'll note here, Sadie recuse. Okay.
So you know where it is.
Now before the HTFC members is a resolution approving a Legacy City Access Program Award for the Oswego County Land Bank Corporation. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the HTFC board, all in favor, please say aye.
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 The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Great. Now we're going to go to item 10, which is a resolution approving an Affordable Homeownership Opportunity Program, AHOP, award for Ithaca Neighborhood Services for the Trumansburg project.
Ithaca, I know where that is.
Do you know
I did include a map, though, so.
I've been
Okay.
Have you been to Trumansburg?
What?
Have you been to Trumansburg?
No, that no.
The Rongovian Embassy.
Really?
It's
what
an
is
old
it?
bar there called the Rongovian Embassy. It's great. It's right on the main street.
Wow.
I didn't check
Buildings
that out when I went up. I should.
I'm old again.
Worked upstate school.
No, this was when I was in graduate school. Anyway.
Great. All right, Thomas, take it away.
Hi, everyone. So presenting two projects today, actually, with Ithaca Neighborhood Housing Services. They're a wonderful nonprofit based in Ithaca. They do a variety of development and homeowner counseling work. These two projects are closing on roughly the same timeline. So this first one in Trumansburg, this is a $2 million AHOP award to construct 10 townhomes on a greenfield site just outside the center of Trumansburg. It's part of a larger master plan for the area, which includes LIHTC development that I think is going to be coming to us and a childcare center. Really nice spot. We've been out there. There are 6 2-bedrooms and 4 3-bedrooms, and we'll be participating with Tompkins Bank on this one. All of the homes will be regulated at 80% of AMI. And anticipated average sales prices are $170,000, which comes in under that at 70% of AMI. The homes will be all electric and sustainable, and they will be placed on the Community Housing Trust, which is a community land trust associated with INHS. That entity will own the underlying land, and the homeowner will own the improvements. And as a result, they'll be affordable in perpetuity and have some other regulation on them as in addition to our regulation. Happy to answer any additional questions about this one.
I would just like to say congratulations to Tompkins Bank for jumping into the fray and doing this deal. That's terrific.
Great.
And it's great that they're all electric. It's a great little community with a terrific master plan. So I love this one.
Great.
Now before the HTFC.
That one?
Now before the HTFC members is a resolution approving an Affordable Homeownership Opportunity Program award. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the HTFC board. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Great. And now Thomas is going to stay for item number 11, which is a resolution approving an Affordable Homeownership Opportunity Program award for Ithaca Neighborhood Housing Services for the Freeville Ithaca project. Take it away.
Excellent. So this is a very similar setup with Ithaca Neighborhood Housing Services and with Tompkins Bank. This one is $1.4 million in AHOP subsidy, supplemented by a variety of subordinate sources in both cases. This is for 7 homes, 5 of them in 2 clusters in the downtown Ithaca area. One of them is a county or city-owned site that will have 4 homes on it, sort of vacant lot. And the last one is a decrepit home that can't really be rehabbed, and so they're going to tear it down and build a new one just southwest of downtown. The last 2 homes are located in the nearby town of Freeville, which is northeast of Ithaca, just a short drive. There's 2 2-bedrooms and 5 3-bedrooms in this one, all the homes at 80% of AMI. Regulated at 80% of AMI, the average sales prices are $175,000, which equates to a sales price AMI of 62%. This one, in contrast with the other one, will all be modular construction. So the borrower is working with Simplex Homes, which is a Pennsylvania-based modular builder, to get these out. They'll be the GC for the site work and the finishes, but the modular will be delivered on site. These homes will also be placed on the Community Housing Trust, which I described before. Happy to answer any questions.
Not a question. I'm just glad to see that you're doing 3-bedroom homes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And wait till we get the next one. There's some 4-bedrooms in there.
Wow. Even bigger families.
Preview.
I do
Okay.
appreciate the 2 bedrooms too, though, because not every family needs a big home. And it's important that we stop overhousing people.
That's interesting.
You just can't win. Okay.
Only somebody from
It's like the 3
CTC
little
would say
bears.
that.
Too big, too tired. Okay. Now before the HTFC members is a resolution approving an Affordable Home Ownership Opportunity Program award. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the HTFC board. All in favor, please say aye.
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 The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Great. Now we are going to item 12, which is a resolution approving an Affordable Homeownership Opportunity Program award for home headquarters. Go ahead, Tom.
Excellent. So this is a loan to a well-established Syracuse nonprofit home headquarters. They're a frequent HCR partner, very active in home building and rehab across the city of Syracuse and in surrounding areas. The project is 40 homes and 6 clusters in Syracuse and in the adjacent town of Solvay. 34 of those will be 3-bedrooms and 6 will be 4-bedrooms. 3 of those homes will include an accessory rental unit. This was sort of a request from the city of Syracuse. That unit will not be funded with AHOP subsidy. So it's really just the 40 homes that are receiving the money. It's $7.8 million total, which will be supplemented at the permanent phase by an infusion of ARPA funds from the city of Syracuse. We're partnering here with Geddes Federal as the participating lender. These homes, there's a variety of sort of models that Home Headquarters has developed that they've designed to sort of match the architectural heritage of the various neighborhoods across the city. And so you can sort of see in the memo, there's a sort of variety of those different models. They'll be all well insulated and all electric. Home Headquarters just recently completed some passive house homes, so they're very well acquainted with sustainable construction. And the construction is going to occur across 4 phases of 10 homes each. Happy to answer any questions about this one.
So good to see Geddes get in the game. It's great.
Okay. Yeah, I've never heard of them. Are they
very small, but
just great.
Committed.
Oh yeah, I would just note also, we launched this homeownership program in this housing. We had it in the last housing plan, but we really scaled it up for this one. So it's really exciting to. It takes a while to get sort of new programs out and people to figure out what they are and how to finance them and how to put them together. As folks can see, we're not the only financer in these, so we have to get our partners on board, not just the developers, but also all the financial partners. So it's great to see all 3 of these come through. Feels like we've been waiting for this kind of like ramp up, so it's exciting.
Who's going to provide the lawns?
The what?
The lawns. They're over there.
The lawns?
Dirt.
I think they probably will come with grass seed if I had to guess.
I think so, yeah. They'll do that work.
Yeah.
Okay, now before the HTFC members is a resolution approving an affordable homeownership opportunity program award for Home Headquarters, Inc. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the HTFC board, all in favor, please say aye.
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 The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, now we have item 13, which is a resolution authorizing an increase for a community development block grant award for the village of Newark. And Crystal is going to present this.
Hello. The Village of Newark, a prior awardee of CDBG public infrastructure funds, has requested additional funds to address a gap caused by rising material expenses. OCR is seeking approval to increase the award by just under $392,000. Without this increase, the village would not be able to complete this culvert replacement project as proposed. This brings it to a new total project cost of $1 million. Full details are in the memo and briefing sheets, and I'm happy to answer any questions from the members.
Joyce, the Village of Newark is 40 miles southeast of Rochester.
Wayne County.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I had to Google, and Ken would obviously have known this without the assistance of Wikipedia, but it is well known for the fact that it was the birthplace of Jackson and Perkins Company, which is a big rose company now headquartered in the South. But
okay,
just so Ken knows that we're thinking of him.
Noted. The record reflects. Okay.
Thank you.
There we go. Okay, now before the HFC members is a resolution authorizing an increase for a community development block grant award for the Village of Newark. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the HTFC board, all in favor, please say aye.
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 The motion is carried and the resolution adopted. 14.
Road culvert.
It's hard to say that 10 times fast. Okay, we are at item number 14, which is a resolution authorizing a community development block grant economic development program award for Ulster County, and Crystal's going to go through this with us.
We're back with a distillery, which I know you were missing. So this month we have one economic development CDBG award. We're requesting approval to award $92,000 in CDBG funding to support the expansion of the Hudson House and Distillery. This will support replacement of food prep and storage equipment as part of a riverfront distillery and event space. The funding is tied to creation of 6 new jobs for low and moderate income individuals. We're seeking approval to award funds and enter into a grant agreement with Ulster County. So this distillery is in the hamlet of West Park, which is in the town of Esopus in Ulster County. Full details are in the memo, but happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you, Crystal. Oh, Crystal, what does the distillery produce? It's been asked.
I'm sorry, I don't have my briefing sheet with me. It should be in the memo. but I can get back to you with that information.
Gorgeous. It's gorgeous.
Interesting.
It's gorgeous.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, you know the property?
I was just looking at it. It's amazing.
Wow.
That's where we should do the next board.
Another field trip?
Here we
Yeah.
go, here we go. I like it.
Especially if it's a distillery.
Yes, definitely. Okay. Now before the HTFC members is a resolution authorizing a community development block grant economic development program award for Ulster County. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the HTFC board, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
That's Michelle Hinchy's district.
Okay, now we are going to item number 15. Which is a resolution authorizing awards under the Neighborhood and Rural Preservation Programs, an annual one here for us. Crystal?
Thank you. Just over 25 million was included in the New York State budget for the Neighborhood and Rural Preservation Programs. This is an annual program that has been funded for decades and provides administrative funding to support a network of nearly 200 rural and neighborhood preservation companies. OCR is requesting board approval to award these funds and enter into grant agreements with up to 60 RPCs and 133 NPCs, or neighborhood preservation companies. Full details and the list of organizations is included or are included in the memo, and I'm happy to answer any questions from the members.
Great. Okay. Diana?
Okay, now before the HTFC members is a resolution authorizing awards under the Neighborhood and Rural Preservation Programs. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the HTFC board, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Great. Now we're going to go to item number 16, which is a resolution authorizing amendments to the weatherization stimulus program contracts, and Becky is going to present.
Michelle Hinchy, Maurice Hinchy's daughter.
She's
Right. Good morning.
Maurice Hinchy's daughter.
I don't know. I know Michelle, but I don't know who her mom is.
Jonathan,
Oh, okay.
really sweet guy.
Could be.
Great.
We need Ken.
All right, well, good morning, almost afternoon. So before you today is a request regarding the weatherization stimulus program. As you may recall, we got money through the American Rescue Plan, over $50 million to enhance our existing weatherization program. 3 of our sub-grantees have let us know they will not be able to spend their full allocations. Luckily, 3 other sub-grantees have raised their hands and said we can spend it. And so we are asking for your approval today to amend the 3 sub-grantee contracts so that we can fully expend the dollars by the time the deadline comes around. Any questions?
Love the weatherization program, so the more we do, the better.
What exactly do we do under weatherization?
We do like energy retrofits of single-family and multifamily homes, so insulation, sealing the building envelope.
Oh,
Mostly for older homes, a lot of seniors. It's a great program.
Okay, now before the HTFC members is a resolution authorizing amendments to weatherization stimulus program contracts. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the HTFC board, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
I have
Great.
a question, Ruth Ann.
Yeah.
Do you need me for a quorum? I have an 11:30 meeting that I'm already late to.
Oh, geez. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't, where's
Sarah? Is Sarah there?
Sarah? Amy?
Oh, Amy.
Yeah. Just quick question here. Quorum for HTFC, if Sadie steps out, will we have quorum? I think we do, right? We'll have 6.
We have 6.
6, you'll have 6.
It's a
Out of
total of 9,
isn't it?
That's
I wish.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think we're good.
Yes,
Okay,
you
so
do.
hold on one second. Let
Sorry.
me check with Sarah to make sure we're good. It's been a while since I've done this.
Was that Alex in Voice of God?
Sarah for 5 years.
We're
Yeah, I
okay,
think we
Alex?
have 6, Diana.
We do have 6. Just want to make sure we don't have a super majority here. Okay,
No,
thank you,
6.
Sadie. Sorry.
see you in
No worries.
August, if not
We're going to do
before.
CEI next, though, if you don't want to.
I know,
It's
and
okay.
I'm all about it, and I approve.
We'll take it.
It's
All
my
right.
first
Okay.
meeting with County Retirement Fund in 5 years. So gotta go.
Thank you, Sadie, appreciate it. All right, item number 17 is a joint HTFC and HFA board item. Sorry, this is written funny. So authorizing the Clean Energy Initiative Awards. And Becky's going to present as well.
So as you will recall, the Clean Energy Initiative includes funding we received from NYSERDA to do decarbonization in projects coming before the 4% and 9% teams. You have previously voted on these projects for their other sources of financing, but today we're asking you to vote on the Clean Energy Initiative funds specifically. This includes 11 HTFC projects with 754 units and $5.4 million of CEI funds being awarded. And then on the HFA side, 2 projects of 100 units, which with $718,000 being awarded. Again, these are funds that are used to help electrify these buildings and decarbonize them.
Great. It's a great program.
Any questions? Now before the HTFC members is a resolution authorizing Clean Energy Initiative Awards, assuming the first and second previously entered for the HTFC board. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And similarly, now it's also before the HFA members, the same resolution. And again, assuming the first and second previously entered for HFC board, all in favor, please say aye. This is for HFA?
Aye.
Okay. The motion is carried and the resolution adopted for both HFA and HTFC.
Super. Thanks, Becky. All right. Item 18. I think we're going to 24. So is a resolution authorizing amendments to the contracts with Lancesoft and 22nd Century Technologies. And Amy Chan is going to present. Hi, Amy. I think this is your first time here, maybe. You do get overtime, yes, in the form of more pastries, I think, in the kitchen.
Good morning, board members. I'm Amy Chan, and I'm here to present this item before you, which is a request to amend the contracts for Landsoft Inc. and 22nd Century Technologies Inc. to professional temporary staffing services contracts that HTFC has entered into to support the work of the Homeowner Assistance Fund, or HAF program. In May of last year, HTFC selected these 2 firms based on a pre-qualified panel of staffing services agencies to acquire 2 mortgage processing specialists to assist the HAF program. We entered into these contracts with 22nd Century Technologies for a 1-year term, not to exceed $75,000, and with Landsoft for a 1-year term, not to exceed $100,000. And then in March of this year, the board authorized the amendment of these contracts, each for an additional 1-year term, and to increase the not to exceed amounts to $125,000 each. Since the HAF program is continuing to process applications and we are quite satisfied with the performance of both agencies, we're now requesting that we amend these 2 contracts for 22nd Century Technologies to increase the not to exceed to $245,000, and for Landsoft to increase the NTE to $215,000 to take us through May of next year. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you.
Okay, no questions. Now before the HTFC members is a resolution authorizing amendments to the contracts with Lancesoft Inc. and 22nd Century Technologies, assuming the first and second previously entered for the HTFC board. All in favor, please say aye.
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 The motion is carried, the resolution adopted.
Thank you. Thank you, Amy. Item number 19 is a resolution authorizing an amendment to the contract with FedCap Rehabilitation Services, and Dan Byer is going to come back.
Hi, pretty quick. So this is our contract for printing and mailing. It was procured in the latter part of the last decade, and we're continuing it for another 2 years. It's important because not everybody has access to email and text. So we need to make sure we communicate with everybody, and sometimes that means printing and mailing. So we're upping the value of the contract and the amounts.
Super.
Okay. Questions?
Lots of people still like mail. You know.
Questions, comments? Okay. Now before the HTFC members is a resolution authorizing an amendment to the contract with FedCap Rehabilitation Services, assuming the first and second previously entered for the HTFC board. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Great, thank you, Dan. We are now at item number 20, which is a resolution appointing a seeker officer, a NEPA certifying officer, and reaffirming the appointment of a seeker officer, NEPA certifying officer, that's a slash in between them. And Heather Spitzberg in our Albany office is going to present.
What I was going to.
Good morning.
Wait, hang on, Heather.
I was going to say that for the rest of the presenters, just because we're running over, if there's something that you need to highlight, please do that. I'm sorry to sort of short circuit at the end here, but the commissioner needs to be somewhere soon, so just highlight if you need something. We were almost done, but Heather, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Just if you could truncate your comments as much as possible.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
At this time, I recommend the HTFC board designate Cody Sargood as seeker officer and NEPA certifying officer, and reaffirm James McAllister as a seeker officer and NEPA certifying officer. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Well done.
Okay, now before the HFC members is a resolution appointing a seeker officer, NEPA certifying officer, and reaffirming the appointment of a seeker officer, NEPA certifying officer. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the HFC board, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Great. Item number 21 is a resolution authorizing the extension of the contract with DRG Construction LLC without a competitive award process, and Paul Lizito is going to present.
Paul, yeah, I know. So you've got a couple here, 21, a couple items here.
I will be as quick as possible.
I know you almost talk as fast as I do, Paul. So we're on item 21.
Absolutely. So we're talking about DRG. The short story is that DRG is in active construction on 3 public housing authority sites that they were awarded funds to do the construction work last year. We need them through the end of the year to get to substantial completion and close out the construction work. They were competitively awarded as part of a pre-qualified list that expired last year, and this is just an extension to complete the work that they are currently under contract to do.
Questions?
Thank you.
Now before the HFC members is a resolution authorizing the extension of the contract with DRG Construction LLC without a competitive award process. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the HTFC board, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Great. Item number 22 is a resolution authorizing the extension of the contract with Lero Architects and Planners, PC, without a competitive award process, and Paul is going to present this as well.
Fantastic, Commissioner. Thank you. So it's the same story as DRG, but they are the architect on these projects.
Okay, there you go. There you go. That's what I like. Okay.
Let's hope we don't see it again in 6 months.
I don't want to go into the detail. We're at punch list.
Now before the HTFC members is a resolution authorizing the extension of the contract with Lero Architects and Planners without a competitive award process. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the HTFC board, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Great. Thank you. One more. Item number 23 for Paul. Sorry.
Two more.
Oh, two more. Sorry. Item number 23, a resolution authorizing the extension of the contract with Tectonic Engineering Consultants, Geologists, and Land Surveyors, DPC, without a competitive award process. Paul?
So as Katie noted, we've managed the homeowner repair program under Superstorm Sandy that requires environmental review closeout work. We have a small number of cases that we need to close out and cure remaining, and we need their services for that and for some additionally competitively awarded scope associated with our partnership with Crystal's team on work in Mount Vernon.
Okay.
Okay, now before the HTFC members is a resolution authorizing the extension of the contract with Tectonic Engineering Consultants, Geologists, and Land Surveyors, DPC, without a competitive award process. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the HTFC board, all in favor, please say aye.
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 The resolution is carried and the motion is carried and the resolution adopted. Paul?
Great. And now item number 24 is a resolution authorizing the extension of the contract with Tetra Tech Engineers, Architects, and Landscape Architects, PC, without a competitive process.
So we have a Rebuild by Design program is a constellation of projects. Tetra Tech is a designer for some of those scopes of work. And with one of the scopes of work, an oil spill spilled on our living breakwater. We've gotten some resources with DEC to repair that, to address that issue, but the construction timelines have extended and we need access to our designer to project completion.
Well,
Okay. Now before the HTFC members is a resolution authorizing the extension of the contract with Tetra Tech engineers, architects, and landscape architects without a competitive award process. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the HTFC board, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Great. Thank you, Paul. The remainder of the agenda items are informational. There'll be no presentation unless requested by the board members. Item number 25 is a review of secret type 2 actions. Item number 26 is the annual review of the Charter and Governance Committee of the Housing Trust Fund Corporation. Item 27 is the annual review of the Charter of the Audit Committee of the Housing Trust Fund Corporation. Item 28 is a review of the Land Bank Initiative Phase 2 awards. Item 29 is review of the current agency procurements contracts in the lobbying restricted period. There being no further business for HFA, HC, and HTFC members, Diana, can you just close this out?
Assuming the first and there being no further, assuming the first and second previously entered for HFA, AHC, and HTFC, all in favor of adjourning, please signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried. The meeting is adjourned. Next meeting, August 10. Thank you much, everybody.
Thank you. Sorry for the length, but thank you.
And notice Alice is safe during the middle.
The,
Yes, well.
I was monitoring it from an undisclosed location.
Yeah, right.